Welcome! This tutorial will show you the workflow of accounting in Magaya software. We'll be reviewing how to configure the accounting system, the foundation of the accounting system called the chart of accounts, also known as the general ledger, and the items and services you buy and sell. Then we'll cover accounts receivable, accounts payable, banking, and several reports. On the top, you can click the File menu and go to Accounting Wizard. All of the topics covered in the Accounting Wizard will be covered later on in this video. You'll need to go to Maintenance, then Configuration, then find Accounting. In here there are many options, so you'll need to review each one of them to see which one applies to you. One of the most important options here is the home currency. When you start a new database, you'll be able to select the home currency. If you have multiple currencies, just enable the multiple currencies and click on the currency list. In here, just choose the currency that you would like and click on This currency is active. Once you do that, you'll be able to go back to the configuration and select your home currency. We recommend United States dollar if your database is in the US, or if you're outside of the US, just select your home currency. You can always use as many currencies as you like in the system. Now let's take a look at the accounting system. There are two main sections we recommend that you set up before you start any accounting transaction. This would be the chart of accounts and the items and services. Magaya's accounting system is completely integrated with your operations. This means any account, service, or transaction can be directly tied into an operation. This is one of the major benefits of using accounting within Magaya. So let's start with the chart of accounts. The chart of accounts is also known as the general ledger. In here you have a list of all of your accounts, each type, their account number, balance, and other details. If you would like to add one, simply just click on the Add button and enter the details in the dialog box. The Type field has different account types. For example, any income, expense, or cost of goods type will relate to accounts that show up in your profit and loss. Any types with assets, liabilities, and equity will show up on your balance sheet. These are just some examples. Feel free to add the account type that you would like, and then afterwards, just enter their name. Depending on the type that you select, you'll be able to enter an opening balance or not. This all depends on the type of account. For example, when we add the credit card type, notice how the opening balance field appears. For the credit card account, just enter a name and the account number. In here, we'll just add the last 4 digits. Also note that the chart of accounts list is alphanumeric. This means if you would like to use account numbers to search within the name list, you can prefix each of your names with the number. This makes searching a little bit easier. Next, we have the parent account field. If you notice in the list, there's a freight cost account. This freight cost account is a parent of air freight cost. This means in your reports, you'll have a hierarchy for your accounts. You can have as many different levels as you'd like. In the opening balance field, just enter your opening balance and the as of date. Later, when we click the OK button, the system will create a journal entry for this. Next, you can enter your currency, and you can inactivate any accounts at any time that you would like. By using the Inactive button, you'll be able to inactivate any accounts without having to delete them. The system won't let you delete any accounts that are tied into any accounting transactions. This is for your safety. Lastly, click on Notes and enter any notes that you would like, and then click OK. You'll notice now we have a MasterCard account. If I don't remember the name of my account, I may usually remember the account number. This is why we put a prefix before MasterCard, so I can just type in 4567 and get the account very quickly. This is very useful when you're searching for accounts in different lists. There are some other options in the chart of accounts list, so we'll review a few of them. When you click the Actions button, you can select General Journal Entries. Notice in here there's 2 journal entries, one for my Visa and one for my MasterCard. To add a journal entry, just click on the Add button, but in this example, we'll just edit the MasterCard one. For each journal entry, just enter a date, memo, entry number, and division. The entry numbers can be system generated under your accounting configuration. Under the Detail section, you'll need to click on Add for as many accounts that you would like. Then you'll need to add values within the debit and credit columns. Before you click OK, make sure your debits and credits equal. Then click OK. Now let's go back to the chart of accounts. Let's quickly review a bank reconciliation. Notice that I have 2 bank accounts here, one for USD and one for Japanese yen. If you remember when we added currencies to the system, Magaya automatically creates a bank account, accounts payable, and receivable account for each currency. Let's go ahead and select our USD account and click on Actions, then Reconcile. In this screen, you'll need to get your bank statement date and then your statement ending balance. Then for each of your debits and credits, you'll need to see which ones have been cleared. You can clear each line just by clicking the Cleared button. On the right side, you can add, edit, or delete any transaction that you would like. Once you're done, you'll notice some totals on the bottom, and when your uncleared difference is 0, you're okay. This means you can go back to the top up here and click the Done button. The moment we click the Done button, Magaya will ask you to print reconciliation reports. You can choose to or not. So now let's take a look at items and services. In here, you have a listing of all the services that you buy and sell. Each items and service has a code, description, account name, which is your chart of accounts name, type, and amount. In order to add a new items and service, just click on the Add button and enter the fields in the dialog box. There's a lot of fields in here, but we'll review the major ones for you. The type field is used to classify your items and service and has a relationship to different features within the system. Let's review the top 3 types: freight, and other. Freight is simply your principal freight. In the case of air freight, this would be your air freight cost or income. Other freight is any other type of freight. For example, in the case of air freight, this would be your fuel, screening, and security. Note that if you have an all-in freight, you can just use freight. Magaya separates the different types of freight primarily because of documentation. On the airway bill, the air freight is going to be in the body, and the other freight is going to be on the bottom right. The third type we will discuss is other. Other is used for accessorial charges and overhead expenses. For example, warehouse storage or an electricity expense. The difference between other and freight or other freight is that other is used for flat values or prices multiplied against the quantity. The other type is used in conjunction with the price field or the tariff button. On the other hand, freight and other freight depend on mode of transportation, port of loading, port of unloading, and commodity information. Freight and other freight use rates. Notice that when I select other freight, the price now says freight charges users rates. You can set up all your rates within the rate section. Next, type a description and notice the code automatically generates. You can change the code if you'd like. Then select an account from the chart of accounts. In this example, we'll tie in screening with air freight income. In order to set a price for the screening, we could use rates. Note that all the prices that you set at this level will apply to all your customers and vendors. If you would like to set up specific prices or rates for customers or vendors, you'll need to go to Maintenance and set up the prices and rates under their profiles. The system will use the prices and rates found within a customer or vendor's profile before using the rates or prices found here. Now let's take a quick look at the Automatic Creation tab. Here you can decide where you want the charge to come out in the system. For example, I would like my screening to be automatically enabled in Airhouse shipments. By setting up the automatic creation within the items and service, I am telling Magaya to have this particular service come out on Airhouse shipments regardless of customer. If I would like to have my screening come out only on specific customers, I would need to do that under their customer profile found within Maintenance. Once we click OK and then click the Refresh button, we now have our screening. There are several options found within the Actions button, so please review them. We'll be going over reports a little bit later. So now let's go over accounts receivable. The accounts receivable process has 3 areas: invoices, payments, and deposits. Let's first discuss invoices. You can create an invoice here using the Add button. Note that you can add credit memos as well, or by going to the invoice list and clicking the Add button. An invoice or credit memo can be generated from any operational transaction. For example, if we go to a house shipment, you can click the Generate button to create invoices and credit memos. This can also be done from the master. In the shipment, both the master and house have the Transaction for Shipment option. In here, you can add an invoice or credit memo. Also note, if you click the Actions button, you can link an invoice. This means if you have already created an invoice in accounting, you can link it here by selecting the invoice and clicking OK. This feature is available on any operations transaction in Magaya. Now let's go to a warehouse receipt. In here you have the same feature. Click on Actions and then go to Transaction Listing. You could add your invoice or credit memos here, or just click the Actions button and link an existing invoice in accounting. So now let's do an accounts receivable workflow. We can click on Invoices and we can click on Add Invoice. The number comes from your accounting configuration, but you can change it or have it locked. The accounts receivable account can be changed to reflect the currency. You can choose the invoice date and due date, payment terms, and company division. Next, select your bill to party. For example, let's bill Consignee of Tokyo. Then you can either add charges, which comes from your items and services, or accounts, which comes from your chart of accounts. If you want to add a charge, just click on the Add button and select the items and service. Let's add a simple documentation fee. I can add another description if I would like, and then the price. Then click OK, and you have your charge. You can add as many charged lines as you like. Now let's click the OK button, and we have an invoice. Next are payments. We can pay this invoice simply by going to Actions and receiving a payment, or we can go to the Payment section and click on Actions, Customer Payment. Note that you can also create vendor refunds. You can do the same thing under the Payments list by going to the Add button. Since we already created an invoice, let's find the invoice, go to Actions, and select Receive Payment. There's a few ways to receive payment, so let's go over them. Let's first start with checks. If you receive checks, enter the check number and the total amount received. Let's say we're receiving $100. Next, select the invoices and update the amount paid field. Since we received $100 and the first invoice is $35, then 100 minus 35 is 65, and we can split the monies between both. If you notice at the end it says amount paid must be equal to amount received. You could add memos, select your accounts receivable account, and choose your division. Once we're done, we can click OK, and now we have a payment receipt. If you receive cash, in the check number field, just type in cash and the total amount received. Again, you can select your invoices and update the amount paid column. Here we have amount paid equal to amount received. If you receive wire transfers, enter the wire transfer number here and the total amount received. Again, choose the invoices, enter the amount paid, and then select Deposit Directly. Here you'll need to choose the bank account that the wire transfer went to. By doing wire transfers this way, you won't need to add a deposit in Magaya. With cash or checks, you'll need to add a deposit in Magaya in order to update your bank account. Otherwise, the money stays in the undeposited funds account. The last example is using a combination of both amounts received and credits. First, we're going to select our agent of Tokyo and say we received $100 via wire transfer. This means that we would have to deposit this directly into the bank. The main difference happens down here. Notice that we have credit memos. What we can do in this example is select the invoice and both credit memos. Notice the amount paid column has negatives for the credit memos. This means the amounts are being applied to the invoice. Since we received $100 and have $166 in credit, then we'll need to update the amount paid field to reflect the total amount. We'll enter $266, and notice now amount paid is equal to amount received. Once we click the OK button, we can view the payment receipt. When we go back to the chart of accounts, we'll notice $35 in undeposited funds. This means that we'll need to create a deposit to move the $35 into a bank account. In the deposit screen, you can add a deposit payment or a regular deposit. This can also be done from the deposit list screen just by clicking the Add button. So now let's add a deposit for the $35. Click Add, then Deposit Payment. In here we'll select our bank account, the date, and check the deposit. Once we click OK, we have a deposit ticket. When we go back to the chart of accounts and click the Refresh button, we could take a look at our bank account and click the Detail button. In here we notice we have a deposit of $35. So now let's go over accounts payable. Accounts payable includes bills and checks. You can add a check by going to Bills, clicking the Add button, and selecting either bill or bill credit, or by going to the bill list and clicking the Add button. Just like we saw for invoices, you can go to any operational transaction and click on the Generate button. This will create either bills or bill credits, depending on your charges. In the shipments from either the master or house, you can click on the Transactions button and select Transactions for shipment. In here, you can add a bill or bill credit. Also note that when you click the Actions button, you can link a bill. For example, if you created a bill to pay a trucker before the shipment has been finished, you can link that bill. These same features are available anywhere else. For example, if we go to a warehouse receipt, click the Actions button, and select Transaction Listing, we can add the bill or bill credit here, and click on Actions to link the bill. So now let's go over an accounts payable workflow. Let's go to Bills, click the Add button, and select Bill. Note that the bill number comes from your accounting configuration. If you receive a vendor bill number, it is a good best practice to update this number to reflect their number. Choose the accounts payable account to reflect your currency, bill date, payment terms, due date, and division. Then select your vendor and add either a charge, which comes from your items and services, or an account, which comes from your chart of accounts. Let's add a charge, select the type, and enter a description. Then we can enter a price and click OK. Once we're done, we can click the OK button and we can view our bill. In order to pay this bill, you can click the Actions button and select Pay Bill, or you can go to either the Checks or Checklist and click the Add button. Here you can use a wizard to pay multiple vendors, pay multiple bills from one vendor, write a check to expense, which is simply a check with no bill attached to it, a refund check, or even pay sales taxes. This is all available from the check screen by clicking the Add button. Let's go ahead and go to Bills, click the Actions button, and select Pay Bill. We can choose our AP account, bank account, or credit card, and the Pay To party. The check number will automatically show, as will the check date and the total amount. The total amount here must equal to the total amount paid. Then select your bills. For example, we'll select this one. Then we'll need to make sure our total amount paid is equal to our total amount. Once you're done, click OK, and you have your check. If you have your own check stock, you can select different check templates. Then go to Print, select your check stock printer, and enable Print Fields Only. This will print only the fields onto your check stock. So now let's go over accounting reports and statements. You can choose any accounting report by going to the Reports menu and selecting the report that you would like. Let's quickly go to our accounting configuration by going to Maintenance, then Configuration, then selecting Accounting. Under Accounting, we have a Reports tab. Notice that you have different methods for financial reports, and you can even choose your accounts receivable and accounts payable aging periods. First, let's look at accounts receivable. From the invoice list, we can click the Actions button and select any sales report. Here we have different reports such as open invoices and aging. Let's quickly look at an aging report. This is our report view. You can select any dates here, choose any report columns by going to Actions, then choose Columns, filtering the report by going to Filter and either selecting Standard or Advanced, configuring your reports by clicking the Configure button and selecting different names and options, and saving reports by clicking the Save button. You can save reports with specific names, and then once you do so, you can recall them at any time by going up to the Reports menu and clicking on Saved Reports. Notice the report we just created was this one. What this means is that Magaya will use this report to query data in the future. You can also print or email any report that you would like, and even export it by going to Actions and clicking the Export button. If we want a customer or agent statement, we'll need to go to Maintenance and select either forwarding agents or customers. You can select any customer you'd like, or even use the Control and Shift keys on your keyboard to select multiple ones. In this example, let's select one, then click the Actions button and choose Statements. Here we can either show, print, or email the statement. Let's go ahead and show this statement. Select the statement date, show all open transactions as of statement date, and then select the template. Let's choose the detailed one, and then click the Show button. Now we can see our customer statement. Notice that the statement has aging on the bottom. So now let's look at accounts payable reports. Let's go to Bill List, click Actions, then Purchases Reports. Here we can see unpaid bills and aging. Let's go ahead and select unpaid bills. All the options we showed in the invoice aging report also apply here. Now let's take a quick look at some financial reports. We can go to the Reports menu on the top, click on Financial Reports, and select either a profit and loss, balance sheet, or statement of cash flows. Let's first look at our profit and loss. We'll go ahead and select the date and zoom out a bit to see our details. Now let's look at a balance sheet by going to Reports, Financial Reports, then Balance Sheet. In here you can see a full balance sheet. If we go back up to the Reports menu, we can briefly discuss the profit reports. In here, the profit reports are by customer, salesperson, agent, and even operation. Let's take a quick look at a profit and loss by operation. We can choose our dates and zoom out a bit. The difference between a standard profit and loss and a profit and loss by operations is that a standard profit and loss will show the accounting transactions by accounting transaction date, and the profit and loss by operations report will show all the accounting transactions by operation date. This video showed you the main accounting features and how accounting transactions are linked to operations transactions in Magaya. Check out the knowledge base for step-by-step articles you can print or email to help you use the software fully. Thanks for watching.